downfall of Nasheed, when the internal circumstances in Maldives institution, and he was acting at quite a fast pace and trying to implement certain things which didn't go down too well either with India or with his population as well. You're talking about reacting. How would India look at the situation? You have to look at what Nasheed was. He was trying to take on the bureaucracy. He suddenly reduced their salaries and then trying to kind of make it fulfill that. And he for India, while the Chinese presence is uncomfortable, but Nasheed's ideological orientation, which is being guided by UK, he studied there. That's also is not a very comfortable situation for India. With a president in a backyard who kind of pursues an agenda which is a Western agenda. It's not a very comfortable situation. Then in came Wahid, who had support from Adalat party from outside. And there are kind of their links and their allegations earlier. There were people who had gone to the madrasas in the Afpak border coming back to Maldives and being part of the society. And how does it's a mosaic actually. It's a very homogeneous. Maldives is a country which is which is very closely family. Every family is almost linked to every family. You have the same advisor for Qayyum, who was also an advisor for Nasheed. Right, the one who had called up Rajiv Gandhi in 1988 was also the advisor for Nasheed, right? And you had the same foreign minister serving, and it's a very closely family linked society, and so it's very delicate in terms of you can't really to understand and what basically I think also they also have to understand their position, what is their position in South Asia and what relations what.
It's so close to India, and it directly impinges on our security, our maritime interests. Deviants will have to think it through whether this constitution needs an amendment. You can't have a situation where you win the election but you can't have ministers of your choice,
right? And
they have to be confirmed by the parliament, and which refuses to do so. So moment this and 8-10 political parties in this is very confusing state. But the problem with also has been with Wahid's background and person.
We brought about overnight in that country.
Absolutely.
On that note, we slip into yet another break here. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Forum, we are talking about the current crisis in the Maldives. Dr. Pandey, I'll continue with you. Talking about India's role in the Maldives, should India even care, or do you think what's happening in the Maldives is purely an internal matter, or do you think it's something that impinges upon India's interests in the region?
Well, absolutely. All the building ports, they are connecting road and surrounding you, and you cannot take it lightly. So I would say that, and in your own security interests, there is a limit to which things can be let as they are. Otherwise, and we don't know what is happening in Marao Island case. In Maldives also it is stated that there are reports of, they having refused Americans and the Britishers about the Ghan Island, but nothing about the Marao Island. And if we leave it like we did it in case of Sri Lanka, like we are doing in Bangladesh, in Pakistan, we cannot leave it at that. This is one major security interest. You cannot allow vacuum to be created in your backyard. It will be captured by China. The second instance is what he was mentioning also about the training of people in the madrasas.
Right.
Well, Fauzi was let off after 2002, but subsequently you had as many as 9 of them arrested in North Waziristan, being trained there. It is a serious problem, and as I said, it is also a structural problem, because the kind of democracy and the kind of religious system they are promoting, in the name of freedom to profess religion, things are, backtracking and counterfeiting, which is something you cannot allow. You saw what happened in Nepal's case. You saw the entire hijacking took place from a neighboring country. So, our major security concerns, Pakistan and China, have a place to operate from unless we are proactive about it. Our economic interests come, yes, and as you say,
to have a friendly regime in Mali.
As Professor Pandey has said very eloquently, that we need to preserve our interests in these places. How we do it is a different matter. We need to have a strategy which kind of balances the aspiration of the people from interacting with China. We've seen it in Nepal, we have tried to do it, even in Bhutan for that matter. It's an open world. You can't block a power from dealing with them, and at some stage they will definitely try to do it. But what you need to do is to give them the best possible deal in terms of space that you provide them, in terms of the aid that you would do it, in terms of promises that you can keep. Invariably what happens that Indian diplomacy or Indian political leadership makes a lot of our economic enlargement in terms of all that is very clear that if we have some kind of influence on Maldives, we are able to extend our frontiers. So from that standpoint, we really need to have close ties with Maldives or Mauritius and the other small countries in that region. But how we do it, as I said, is something that we need to ponder, because earlier strategy hasn't worked, so we need to find some other balance. Nasheed is pro-Indian, Wahid is not anti-Indian. Even on the issue of GMR, he claims that he had a representative staying in for 40 days in India, trying to seek an appointment to the Prime Minister before they actually cancelled the contract. So once the contract got cancelled, the whole, you can say, the house came down, and people started saying that GMR, the Maldivian government has behaved in a certain manner. But the fact of the matter is that they all look up to India. So when India is not able to take certain decisions that they want to hear or do certain things, then a policy in the neighborhood looks very, very shaky or flawed.
So, Mr. Sharma, what should be then in India's policy there? How do we strike this balance between Mr. Nasheed and Wahid?
No, we cannot be sort of striking a balance between the two personalities there. What must be there? So this is a case where by giving asylum, we have sent a message that if it comes to protecting our interests, we would take tough decisions. It's a good decision to have allowed him in the High Commission premises. Now, we have done a lot. 88, we were the ones who came to their rescue. It's not this that we have not done. Considering the size or the number of that country, we have been quite generous with our assistance also in the past. A very substantial assistance has gone to them. Now, as I said, that it is not correct on our part to choose between personalities. But yes, right now, Nasheed has sought our assistance and we have given our assistance. And hopefully, I mean, once the elections take place, suppose he doesn't make it again. It doesn't mean that for good we would have burnt our boats with the other, with Wahid. No. All that we are asking is let there be transparent, fair elections.
Right.
And core interests are known to both and any other third part. After all, we had good relations with Gayoom. It's a different matter that he was particularly if they have more efficient modes. But given the factor of religious fundamentalism, Pakistanis having tried to get foothold in Sri Lanka earlier, Nepal, from where, as she rightly pointed out, this hijacking thing came. One of the biggest ISI stations abroad was Kathmandu. In the counterfeit currency, they had the ISI station in Kathmandu had a major role. We don't want similar